When we were talking about naming and whether you'd want to explicitly name resources or use the generated one, we created this example where we had a Node.js function that we gave a function name, and then we also found that this built an IAM role, and the IAM role didn't have some sort of override parameter where we could pass a name in. And so to work around that, to give a role the fixed name that we would like with this prefix and format, we created our own role and then we provided it to the construct. This has the side effect, or the caveat if you like, that we have to replicate everything that CDK does very precisely with this role. We've got to be really careful that the things that we do in our role match what are in the original construct, or we might find that it doesn't work. So I thought this would be a good way for us to talk about how we handle automatically created resources and how we can override things. So let's see what we can do. So let's take away the role that's explicitly defined here. We're going to remove that role parameter from the construct itself, and then we'll run a synth. Lovely. And then that gives us an IAM role, and there is no role name property there. It's just the default naming. So what we can do is we can dive into the construct a little bit and override just a property of the resource or resources that we're interested in. So let's pop to the documentation and let's find the Node.js function in GitHub. I think it's just a little bit easier to read in that format rather than the transpile version. Whoops, I've not done a very good search here, so let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so we pop to the TypeScript source code. We can see that broadly this construct just extends Lambda function with some tweaks. So let's go and have a look at that class. And then inside of function, we can find our constructor. And then we can see where the role gets made. So if we keep scrolling and scrolling down here in line 716, we create a role, but we're not actually creating a CloudFormation resource here. We're using the level 2 construct for a role. So we're going to have to dive into this construct here and see what lies beneath. The first thing, however, we do want to take a note of is the ID here, the logical ID at this level, which is service role, because we're going to have to dig into this logical ID and then the next step down. So let's go and find the IAM construct, or the IAM role construct. So here we go. Here's our role. And we can give it a bit of a scroll down. Again, quite a big construct, quite involved. And eventually we will find the constructor. And then in the constructor, there should be a CFN role. So let's see if we can grab that. Great. So here's our CFN role. And here is the resource, or the ID, we should say, of the resource. So we wanted service role, that was the first logical ID we found in the hierarchy, and then the second logical ID is resource, and this is a type of CFN role here. Alright, let's pop back up to our construct, and then we're going to do lambda function.node to find the node in the hierarchy, and we're going to do find child, and we're going to look for service role, then we're going to grab the node once more, and we're going to find child again, and this time we're looking for resource. And then we're going to pop that into a variable just for ease of use. So let's say this is our role, and we've got to cast it to the correct type. So we're going to say that is those lookups there with find child as CFN role. And then once we've got our role, we can do a bit of an override. So let's say add override, and we can pop in here that we want to do the properties.role name, and let's just set it to hello world for now as an example. And we can open up the terminal again, run our synth, and let's see what's in the template. And just like that, we've now given a role name property to the IAM role without having to create it ourselves separately. And we could also do this in a slightly different way if you would like. So there's an add property override method where we don't have to specify the properties key there. We can just put in the value we want and then the override value, and I can take out the first one, run a synth and double check that we still get the same outcome, which we do. Still got our role name of hello world. And there are some other override methods as well. So You can do a deletion of a property that's there already. So there's add property deletion override there, or just add deletion override. So there's one at the top level of the CloudFormation resource, if you like, and one inside of the property deletion. I think this is what CDK would call an escape hatch. It's something that I wouldn't be looking to use very frequently, and would only really be looking to use if you've got quite a compelling use case for why you need to do an override in this form. But I just wanted to demonstrate it as a way that we could dive into how a level 2 construct's made, and we could change just one thing or just one property, which avoids the manual replication of the construct's effort elsewhere.